Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica. Please remain standing if you can for the playing of the national anthem. Thank you so very much to the band of the Jamaica Fire Brigade. Please be seated. Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica. I have not seen the Honorable Floyd Green as yet, but I do know that he is on his way. The Honorable Darrell Vaz, Minister of Science, Energy, Telecommunications and Transport, members of the Houses of Parliament, members of the Diplomatic Corps, executives of the Caribbean Broilers Group, the Honorable Carl Hendrickson, Chairman Emeritus, and his wife Nell Hendrickson, Mrs. Lorianne Lynn, Group Chair, Mr. Matthew Lynn, Group CEO, and his wife, Mrs. Jody Lynn, the Most Reverend and Honorable Monsignor Gregory Ramkisoon, industry partners, public and private sector representatives, especially stakeholders of the agricultural community, employees, staff, partners of CB Group, members of the media, all specially invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, Happy New Year, and welcome to the official opening of the CB Air Chill Poultry Processing Plant. I thank the person who whistled a while ago. You know, it's the new year, and I still believe that we have just this small window of saying Happy New Year, and we cannot start off this absolutely historic moment with anything fenke or DB, okay? But let me put it into context and let me see if we can raise the energy in the room or outdoor. When I think about CB and what this company represents, I think of what it means to be a proud Jamaican. I think about a company that talks about excellence but does excellence consistently. I think about a company that even after doing excellence consistently, still challenges and asks, what more can we do? I think about a company that values and honors everybody who is a part of the value chain, from the farmer go all the way to the consumer. I think about a company that is working tirelessly to ensure that it leaves a big footprint and a positive one in Jamaica, in the industry, enhancing as it goes along the way. I think about a company that is committed to food security, and at the end of the day, I think about CB Group as the company that wants to do all of these things, all while protecting the environment. Again, when I think about the CB Group, I stand here as a very proud Jamaican. So let us start that one more time. No, man, I'm going to give you a chance. No, wait for it. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to the official opening of the CB Air Chill Poultry Processing Plant at The Nest. I knew we had it in us. I want to let you know that this is not an average company. This is not an average launch. This is not an average building. This is not an average feat. For those of you who do not know me, I am Terry Carell. It is my pleasure, my honor to serve in the capacity of host. Not only am I your host today, I am an avid loyalist of the CB Group. I am a consumer of all its products. Except for Nutrimix, because naturally that's not a consumer product. And I would like to take the time to decree and declare that absolutely no CB chicken was harmed in the making of my blouse. This is not a coincidence, ladies and gentlemen. I will admit to you, though, and I will tell you that as I was getting ready this morning, my husband looked at me and said, "You better hope CB don't pluck you by the end of the day." But this is how serious I not only take my job, but this is how serious I take a company that strives for excellence, not just in Jamaica, but in the region. And I'd like to just take the opportunity to congratulate the CB Group for winning the CARICOM's 2024 Farmer of the Year. Jamaica wins, and it continues to put us on the map. So before we dive in and we learn about what this launch is really about and we get into the details of impact, let us welcome the Holy Spirit. Let us welcome it to take command of the atmosphere. I welcome Monsignor Gregory Ramkisoon to deliver the prayer. Please make him welcome.
Good morning. I confirm everything that Dr. Johnson says about, I've been here a million times blessing things, and it's just amazing. Each time it's like the start of something else. I also want to thank publicly the CB Group, the Bakery Group, the Continental Group, the Hendrickson family for being consciously, intentionally generous to our children who suffer, and especially recently with our 6-day Haitian children, in helping me to physically comfort them with food and with shelter. So please let them know that. Thank you. And as usual, God is always here. He is here. But let us formally invite the presence of the Holy Spirit to guide us and to be here with us as we focus on His presence, thank Him for everything. He is here. Thank you, Jesus. He is here. Amen. He is here. You can touch Him. You will never be the same. Oh God, by working as a carpenter, your Son enhanced the dignity of human labor, and in a wonderful way, joined us through our own toil of the work of redemption. Through the blessing they seek, strengthen your faithful. Give to those who are employed in skillfully transforming the things you have created a sense of their own dignity. Make them content in their dedication to bettering the human family in praise of your name. And we ask this in your most precious name, Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Monsignor. I would like to also take the opportunity to welcome the Honorable Matthew Samuda. Thank you so very much for being here. So now that we've welcomed the Holy Spirit in the atmosphere, and for many of you, this might be the very first time that you are here at the Nest, we just want to give you an idea of what you can expect to see and hear. Take a look.
Today we break ground on our most ambitious project yet. The Nest will be CB's first hybrid growth center. It's the first that will be rolled out in the next 24 months. It's a new concept for us. It's a different way of thinking. Looking in depth at the relationship between people, business, and our environment.
We believe in sustainable agriculture and in building a better Jamaica. A Jamaica where our people are uplifted and empowered. A Jamaica where our food is grown by us on our lands. A Jamaica that embraces cleaner, greener technologies to preserve our island's natural resources and beauty. To inspire future generations and propel Jamaica toward food security, we chose to introduce bold concepts and cutting-edge technologies. We designed with intention for circularity and sustainability. Through landmark collaboration, we're setting a series of firsts for Jamaica and the Caribbean, including the first R&D facility in the Western Hemisphere, focused on advancing poultry farming in tropical climates. Jamaica's only protein recovery plant, transforming millions of pounds of biological waste into valuable protein meal for export. And a pioneering partnership with JPS, where steam is purchased and converted into energy to power other operations, reducing our carbon emissions. At the heart of this transformation is the revolutionary CB Air Chill Processing Plant, the most advanced and sustainable facility of its kind in the region. It redefines our approach to water, waste, energy, and logistics. This is the Nest, Jamaica's first eco-industrial park, strategically designed to inspire change and raise the bar for sustainable agriculture across the Caribbean.
I think we can do a much better job than that. I watched that, and as we Jamaicans would say, water come a me eye. A lot of the times, for many of us, if we were growing up, maybe 70s, 80s, whenever you looked at or tried to visualize what excellence in infrastructure and product and sustainability looks like, we always looked outside or beyond our shores. And looking at that video and just trying to think of all of the work that went into it, it really makes you stand proudly to say that we did this. These are our people, our talent, our farmers, our packers and sorters. And the fact that we can say that there were many firsts that were described in that video, it kind of goes to show that the CB Group is all about being pioneers and inspiring the very next generation. For those of you who do not know, it was mentioned earlier that the Nest is Jamaica's first eco-industrial park. At this time, I'd like to welcome Minister of Agriculture. Hello, the Honorable Floyd Green, Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining. But I just want us to kind of focus in and zero in on a couple of things. The CB Air Chill plant, which we will see today, the Caribbean's largest, most technologically advanced and sustainable poultry processing plant, projecting to save 250 million liters of water in the year. Wow. Wow. The Hill Run Farms, the region's premier training, research, and development facility for livestock, where 2.5+ million chickens and 10,000 pigs are grown annually. Let's talk about the Harvest Hub, in case you didn't hear it. A 500+ acre farm focusing on growing Scotch bonnet peppers, ackee, breadfruit, and coconut. The protein plant, you might have been like, what was that? It's the only protein recovery plant in Jamaica. And in case you're wondering, so why should we care? It eliminates 20 million pounds of biological waste that would have ended up in the landfill somewhere. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. And if that wasn't enough, we have the water treatment plant, recycling 100% of the water used in the processing operation so it can be used as irrigation water for our farms. So yes, we can take care of our people. Yes, we can take care of the profit, but we must not do that if it's going to compromise our environment. JPSCO, this is 3 corporate collaborations. JPSCO's 10 megawatts combined heat and power. What does that mean? This is going to help produce cleaner energy while reducing waste. Devonish Nutrition's R&D broiler facility, the only R&D broiler facility in the Americas focused on improving poultry farming in tropical climates. And lastly, the Jamaica Constabulary Police Post, funded by the CB Group and servicing the community to make it safer for everyone. Another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for the CB Group. So even though I just kind of extrapolated some of the information, the operations, the features, and the collaborations or the partnerships, the best person who can come and give you a better insight, I think a more accurate one, is Sir Matthew Lynn, CEO of the CB Group. Please welcome him.
Good morning. Doctor, the most honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Honorable Floyd Green, the Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining, members, the various members of the Cabinet, His Worship, Mayor Norman Scott, Mayor of St. Catherine, members of the Diplomatic Corps, the very Reverend Monsignor Gregory Ramkasoon, the founder of Mustard Seed Communities, Mrs. Nisa Surjbali, Executive Director of the CPA, the Caribbean Poultry Association, members of the media, my boss, our chair, my mother, Mrs. Lorianne Lynn, our Chairman Emeritus, the Honorable Carl Hendrickson, who I generally have the pleasure of calling Grandpa, and the big family boss, Mrs. Nell Hendrickson, who we generally call Your Majesty. CBG family, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome and thank you so much for being here at our opening of the nest. It's a beautiful morning, and wow, this is quite a setup. But beyond the fanciness, I do want to remind everyone that today we are at a fully functional operational facility. So, if it gets a little noisy from time to time, don't stress, it's processing. And if you smell a little thing from time to time, well, that's processing too. On Friday, August 18, 2017, we broke ground right here where you're sitting. It was a new concept, a design and location we named the Nest. Back then, we called it a hybrid growth center. Today, we use a term more in keeping with international practices. We call it an eco-industrial park. We shared our dream to grow our business, develop the Jamaican poultry industry, and impact this country in a very specific way. We spoke about building something so special that it would inspire the next generation of Jamaicans to do better, to live better, and to be better. A destination that school children could visit and see firsthand that there are other options than being a doctor or a lawyer. And hello to the doctors and lawyers who are here, no disrespect. But how about a plant operator, a controller, an engineer, an architect, a farmer? A place where consumers, even tourists, could see where their food came from, and a location that attracted international buyers and investors to show that Jamaica was serious about agriculture and serious about doing business. We were excited. We were proud. We were deliberate, ambitious. Maybe we were overly ambitious, a little naive. I'm really trying to say that we weren't just outright crazy. What we thought would have taken 2 years plus has taken almost 6. Reality set in early and fast for us. The first 2 years, they were spent just getting the permits necessary for this location. This wasn't a housing scheme. It wasn't an office building, a shopping plaza, a gas station, or even a single factory. This is 450,000 square feet of building space, 3 kilometers of internal roads, a power plant, steam plant, a water treatment plant, and right, this little thing called an air-chilled chicken plant that no one in Jamaica has ever heard of before. Meeting after meeting, site visits, studies, reports, submissions of applications, submissions of drawings, submissions of plans, followed by resubmissions of submissions. If you know, you know. It took us much, much longer than expected to get the go-ahead on this project. We were bruised, but we were not broken. And when we finally got the green light and started construction in 2019, we said, it's okay, we're all right. We'll power through, and we're still going to get this done in good time. And a few weeks later, March 2020, COVID. We had more than 24 companies from over a dozen countries working to achieve the unachievable. Navigating between global lockdowns, travel restrictions, and quarantine rules, plus the global logistics crisis and the parts availability issues that plague the world. It made our life hell for the next 2 years. We were physically tired, mentally fatigued, but we still believed. And then, just as the world starts recovering, in 2022, the real disaster struck. Our old chicken plant in Kingston had the most catastrophic breakdown in our company's history. Just like that. Long past the time we expected to replace these machines, a very key piece of machinery just said, no more. I'm done. We weren't ready to move into this facility. Our equipment wasn't fully installed. Our people weren't fully trained. We had no choice. We had to find a way. So we separated the construction zone from the food safe zone. And this meant that the speed of construction really slowed to a crawl. Our days bled into nights. Our operations were a mess. Our quality, it went to the dogs. Our reputation was shot. Many customers, for very good reason, I don't wrong them, they left us. It was perhaps the lowest point in our company's history. But little by little, we got better. Step by step, day by day, methodically, strategically, a tweak here, another failure there, another try. We restructured, we changed course, we found new ways, we survived. Today, we are breaking our own production records on a regular basis. So before I say anything about this plant and this facility and what it means for us and Jamaica and the future, I have to take this moment to simply say thank you. Thank you to every single person who stood by us in our time of need. I only have a few minutes, so I'm not allowed. They've really gave me a short time here. I'm not allowed to call names. There's just too many. But I do want to say thank you to our dedicated, loyal, and compassionate customers. You knew we needed help, and you never turned us away. We won't forget it. Thank you to our integrated contract growers. They worked equally as hard during this time. They had birds that were 80 days old and over 10 pounds. That's twice the norm. That's a turkey. You are true partners, and we appreciate it. We could not be in this business without you. Thank you to our many, many suppliers who have come from near and far today and who have been such a big part. This plant is as much yours as it is ours. The relationship is never taken for granted. We appreciate you, and you do not go unnoticed. Thank you to each and every one of you. I want to say a special thanks to public health, to the regulators who helped us to work through this plan and work side by side with us. The long days, the long nights, the weekends. Thank you so, so much. But most of all, I have to thank the incredible team at the CB Group. They gave, and continue to give to make sure that we fulfill the dream that we started this project with. Without all of you, we would not be having this ceremony today. And I do believe that there are some members of our processing team that are here with us, and I just ask that the rest of us give them a loud round of applause. And not being one to follow all the rules, I do have to break this rule because there are 3 names that I have to call. People who are part of this project team and who truly, without, we would not be standing here today. I don't know where they are, but Cleos McCullough, Caleb Kelly, and Mr. Audley Raymore. I want to publicly say thank you. People will never know the sacrifices you have made. From the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. All right, let me talk about industry. It's often mistaken that the industry is simply made up of the producers of that good and not taking into account the connectivity, dependency, and interdependency that the many players along the value chain hold. Many people mistakenly believe that the poultry industry is simply made up of a CB Group and Jamaica Broilers. And I do take a moment to acknowledge Mr. Robert Levy, the chair of the Jamaica Broilers Group. The nest was never intended to be for CB's benefit alone. We have always looked at this for industry and for our country. So I do say thank you for being here to show your support. You know, we compete hard, and we compete on the shelves of the many customers that we have here today, or for their storerooms, or to be on their menu. But I will tell you, every time I see a news clip of you investing in another country, opening up another operation, exporting to another country, I'm actually cheering you on. That's foreign exchange earned for Jamaica. That's jobs in Jamaica. And that's us as a little industry trying to compete on a global scale. So kudos to you. Back to the point. Most people think we're only two players in this industry, and they don't properly contemplate the role of the policymakers who create the playing field. Without them, there is no industry. The input suppliers who make or break you, the financial sector, the energy sector, technology providers, service providers. In our case, our farmers. If the financial institutions won't finance you, you're dead. If you don't have clean energy and clean water, no industry. In agriculture, without farmers, there is absolutely nothing to produce or process. And of course, the distributors, the marketers, the customers, consumers, if they don't buy into your good or service, it doesn't matter how good you think you are or what you produce, you have no industry. We have learned in COVID that a break at any point has an effect on the whole chain. In food and agriculture, the industry is from the policy to the plate. Government, suppliers, competitors, customers, and consumers, we rise and fall together. And so the reverse is also true. When the industry does well, it means that all members along the value chain do well too. And grow, we have. The Jamaican poultry industry has grown from producing approximately 70 million kilograms in 2003 to 110 million kilograms in 2013 and almost 140 million in 2023. In 20 years, this industry has virtually doubled. And again, if you think it's just the two processors, you'd be wrong. The majority of that growth comes from the estimated 100,000 plus small backyard farmers growing a couple hundred chickens at a time. So thanks to the entire industry, the success here today is a reflection on all of us. And the question is, what happens now? What is the future for the nest? We named this facility the nest because we said this is just the beginning, the start of life. A definition for the nest is a place that fosters growth and development, an incubator, a home. For years we would have ideated, we would have dreamt, but the nest is where this potential becomes reality. And today I just want to share three. The number one thing, this air-chill plant lays the foundation for Jamaica to become a net exporter of chicken in less than 10 years. And if all the stars align, it'll be less than 5. Consider that only 5 out of the 8 G8 countries can say that. Consider that only 11 out of the G20 fit that bill. Like we do in track and field and so many other categories, we're little, we talawa, and we punch way above our weight class. This means Jamaica is on a path to grow past the level of self-sufficiency, a major milestone for food security. And then we can start filling the gap for the other Caribbean islands who import from extra-regional sources $200 million per year. And I have to acknowledge the role of the CPA, NISA, the executive director, who came in just for this function. The CPA is the regional body that promotes the development of local poultry industries right across the Caribbean. And for the last 25 years, they've been integral in helping to build each of these islands' industries. So, well done. Jamaica, a net exporter of chicken by 2035. I like it. It sounds good. Let's consider the effect on productivity, foreign exchange, and employment. Number 2, the air chill plant will be the catalyst to unlock billions more dollars of investment in agriculture, starting with the poultry industry. And then, let's consider pork and eggs and dairy and crops. Let me pause to recognize some of the financial partners that played a part in this building and facility. I recognize the teams from NCB and JMMB, who are the primary funders. Thank you for believing in our vision. You can give them a round of applause. Let me also recognize our exec team, and particularly Mr. Garth Channel, our CFO. No, he's a Monroe guy. Yes, yes, Minister. And unfortunately, Mr. Channel doesn't have a money tree in the backyard. But diligently, year after year, for over 10 years, Mr. Channel put aside money for this facility. And that was just to pay the deposit. But let me share with the financial institutions today that this is just the beginning. Get ready, because more agricultural investors and investments are coming, and they will need you. The CB Group alone has already started expanding our hatchery operations and our feed mill. This has a positive impact on the many other related industries, like dairy and beef and goat and pigs. However, the more impactful growth is actually the expansion of our integrated grower network, our contract growers. In the next 2 years alone, just to be in line with our domestic growth, it will require $2.5 billion of investment by these business owners. And by the time we get to the net exporter position, that's multiples of that. You may notice I never refer to these men and women as small farmers. They are not small by any means. They are our partners in this industry and have serious capital tied up in their operations. They choose farming. They choose poultry. Our newest integrated grower, he put up 3 houses recently, a few weeks ago. He invested over $400 million to put up that operation. This is an investment that could be listed on the Jamaica Junior Stock Exchange. But it never makes the news. There are over 150 of these farmers in Jamaica, these businessmen and investors. And just to point out, the contract growers, they're more than chicken, because every single one of them grows something else too, whether it is orange, pineapple, cucumber, you name it. Let's not talk about just the investments that people who are in the packaging business, logistic business, haulage, we will all need more. So if all goes to plan, the Nest will unlock investment in agriculture well beyond today. And if all goes to plan, I'm going to invite you out here in another couple of years to do this all over again. Right? And lastly, as I close, this Nest, I hope, will unlock the mindset of the future generation. We think of agriculture as a last resort, a what left. Our best and brightest minds aren't generally pushed into this field. But today, I hope people will see that agriculture is not for small farmers only. Agriculture is also big business. It's cool, it's sexy. And if you're studying, a student, or a budding businessman or woman, and you want to make a difference in the world, start with what we eat. Remember, before there was an industrial revolution, there was an agrarian revolution. We had to figure out how to feed ourselves before we could think of machinery and factories and so forth. Today, the G8 still control 80% of the agricultural trade. You think that's by accident? Today, as we open our viewing gallery to the public and give you a sneak peek as how we will conduct tours to the public to help change this mindset, I also need to recognize Mark Haskins, our former CEO. Mark introduced us to the concept of air chill. He was the brainchild behind the viewing gallery. Mark, we're happy to have you back. Hope we did you proud. And the new Minister of Education, I don't think she's here, but Minister Green, I'm sure she'll be happy to know that every single school child, let me repeat that, every single school child is invited to come and take a tour here. We have nothing to hide. We're very proud of what we do, and we're happy to expose the youth to the modern way of agriculture. To our customers, financial partners, industry partners, government partners, that invitation, it extends to you too. If you want to bring your teams here, just let us know. Give us a call. You might even get a free lunch. We'll see. But Prime Minister, I apologize for having to put you on the spot here, sir. But I think you're the only one who can help me with this one. Our actual tours want to showcase more than just this air chill plant. The Nest, the Eco-Industrial Park, the 500 acres of Harvest Hub, the research facility at Hill Run Farms. We want to show the relationship between industry and environment and agriculture. Let's change the minds of the future generation. Let's attract serious investment and capital into our sector. Prime Minister, I beg in a road. Just a please. And what you drove on was the good side, right? If we can unlock the mindsets of our students, our trading partners, and potential investors, Jamaica agriculture will forever be transformed, and our entire country will be better for it. Let's change that mindset. Agriculture is big business. That's my 3 points. Unlocking Jamaica as a net exporter of chicken by 2035, if not before. Unlocking sustainability. Unlocking more direct and indirect investment into agriculture, and unlocking the mindset of future and current generations. It can be done. It must be done, and it will be done. Ladies and gentlemen, I've taken enough of your time this morning. Let me stop. Thank you so much for being here.
Well said. Absolutely well said. Am I right? I listened to Matthew speak, and I held on to every single word. And there were so many takeaways, but these were the top 3 for me. Collaboration. You can't do all of this. Your goals, your dreams, your aspirations, you can't do it by yourself. So you need to find the right people at the right time to collaborate with. Culture. As he spoke about all the things that didn't happen and should have happened, it reminds you that the reason why CB Group was able to even do this is because they have a great culture that fosters building healthy relationships. Your cause, your purpose, it has to be bigger than yourselves. And as Matthew spoke about it, he really said this is more than the CB group. This is about industry, nation, and region. And maybe the last C I will mention is Corinthians, 2 Corinthians 1:20. Waiting is difficult, but when you wait with an attitude of confidence in God's love for you, maneuvering through the wait can be easier. Delayed does not mean denied. And we're so happy that they continue to believe to the point that we can now say, here we are. And again, knock and it shall be granted. I can't wait to drive on the good road that the Prime Minister is going to approve in the name of Jesus. Now, I also want to welcome, I didn't see her earlier, the Honorable Favour Williams, our Minister of Finance and Public Service. Welcome, good to see you. And of course, Senator the Honorable Aubin Hill just coming in, Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce. Welcome, welcome, welcome. But Matthew gave the perfect segue that I'm going to hand over to this gentleman who walks around always speaking about the bread basket, walks around speaking about the importance, but welcome to St. Catherine, the best parish ever, speaks about the importance of food security. And even when the CB Group was awarded the 2024 CARICOM Farmer of the Year, what he said was that it reflected the continued hard work to the industry, and it put Jamaica right there as the leading example. Thank God he's also someone who leads by example. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome the Honorable Floyd Green, Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining.
Prime Minister, Dr. the Honorable Andrew Holness, other members of the Cabinet, CB Group Chairman Emeritus, the Honorable Carl Hendrickson, CB Group Chair, Mrs. Lorianne Lynn, CB Group CEO, Mr. Matthew Lynn, other CB Group executives, employees, partners, customers, and suppliers, members of staff of the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining, other ministries, members of the media, farmers, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, everybody. I am truly happy to be here. I am truly happy to be here to celebrate the CARICOM Farmer of the Year. And I think CB deserves a big round of applause for not just being one of the best in Jamaica, but for being one of the best in the region. I'm also happy to be here because today we open the single largest investment ever in our agricultural sector. That deserves a big round of applause. And you know, when I first became minister and I toured when it was under construction, I said to myself and I prayed and I said, dear God, let me be here when this is open. Me no want to miss this. That is the truth. I'm a little scared, but I'm here. I'm here, and I'm very happy to be here. And I can't think of a better sector for it to be done in, our poultry industry. And you have heard some of the figures, but they deserve repeating. Our poultry sector has seen immense growth over the last 10 years. In fact, we've seen a 22.4% increase in annual production. The sector continues to move on a growth trajectory as farmers continue to expand their production to meet local demand and to start focusing on our regional demand. If there's one sector that we can talk about tenacity, that we can talk about resilience, it has to be our poultry farmers. And you may not know, but despite losing over 300,000 birds in Hurricane Beryl, our poultry, our broiler poultry sector will still show 3.3% growth at the end of 2024. I think you have to clap louder for our farmers. We've also seen that growth in egg production, which again, we probably don't speak about enough. as one of the major successes under agriculture. In 2019, our egg production was 166 million eggs. In 2023, we produced 255 million eggs. That's a 54% increase in egg production over the quarter. And definitely this has been a difficult year, but despite the stress, despite Hurricane Beryl, we have seen less than 5% reduction in our egg production sector. Can we clap our egg farmers? And I make these points and I give these figures because there are actual people behind these figures. Agriculture is truly about people. And I love to make this point, and I see the head of the PSOJ here, and I see my colleague minister here. One of the things that we have to ensure is that when we categorize this investment, this is not an investment in manufacturing. This is an investment in agriculture. This is an agricultural company. Because we do have a style in Jamaica that when the agriculture reaches a certain stage, we transition it and call it something different. This is what modern agriculture looks like. A fully integrated processing plant that wastes nothing, that ensures that it has a significant knock-on effect. And our poultry sector has been showing us the blueprint for agriculture for a number of years. Led by the private sector, significant investment in research and development, integrating growers out right across the length and breadth of Jamaica, and to ensure that that R&D is passed on to the farmer. Not just our growers that are integrated in our 2 broiler companies, but I can tell you, even our backyard poultry farmers now, because of the R&D work done in poultry, are producing much higher numbers. And I think that is a testament to some of the work that CB has done in R&D through the years. Again, the mother farm approach has worked. Large firms which provide leadership guidance to smaller operators, training them in good agricultural practices, good animal husbandry practices, offering high-quality inputs so that they can improve productivity, reduce mortality, and more than that, get greater returns on their investment. In fact, the work that has been done through Nutramix and their genetic station in Old Harbor has really improved the breeds to our farmers and ensure that they get that at affordable cost while also providing them with veterinary services. Can we clap CB for that integrated approach that has raised not just their company, but agriculture in general? And the beauty is when you strengthen agriculture, it has the knock-on effect. And Matthew spoke about it. We see more people going into the production of feeds. We see banking and finance finally coming on board to support agricultural investment, and we do hope that this will spur them to do much more. But outside of that, we also see significant impact on our socio-economic landscape. When you combine agriculture and manufacture, we see that the industry contributes 3% of our GDP. In fact, agriculture, contributes about 7% of our GDP. But our broiler production alone represents 80% of all livestock production. 80% of all livestock production in Jamaica. And yes, the 2 major companies account for about 60% of that. But 40% is really done by our small backyard farmers. They have grown tremendously over the last decade because of good policy and because of strong leadership from our 2 companies. Furthermore, the profitability and sustainability of our poultry industry demonstrates that agricultural ventures can yield social, economic, financial, and environmental benefits, which are the core tenets to a sustainable production system. The success encourages investors to explore similar options in other livestock. In fact, we are driving more investors to go into small ruminant production. We are driving more investors to go into freshwater fish production. And you would have heard about the other investment that the CB Group is making into their farms. We believe that this investment will stand as a catalyst. And I'm very happy with the direction, especially in the fact that this air chill processing plant will increase production by more than 30 million kilograms. 30 million kilograms. What that means in real terms is that we can treat with our own food security, and then, as Matthew has said, look at treating with food security for the region. We can seriously replace all extra regional chicken meat exports, and that has to be our vision by 2035. Not only will it increase their production and allow us to supply the Caribbean and the wider world, but this plant is better for the environment. As you would have heard, it does not require water for cooling, making more water available for other uses, such as irrigation for agriculture. It is also safer due to reducing cross contamination and the need for chemicals in the water. This supports our food security drive. And the Prime Minister has mandated that the Ministry of Agriculture that I lead pull together a national agricultural development plan that focuses on food security. And Prime Minister, we are well on our way. In fact, we have some technical cooperation from the FAO. They're providing about 75 million Jamaican dollars. The work has started. We've pulled in a cross-sectorial committee, and we have gotten Matthew Lynn from the CB Group to commit to lead the private sector engagement, because this is not a government plan. This is an all of Jamaica plan. And one of the things that my permanent secretary is very, serious about is incorporating in this plan a national food reserve to ensure that in times of crisis, if the world were to close down again as it has done in the past, Jamaica will always be able to feed itself. That comes first. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a good day. It's a good day for the Caribbean Broilers Group. It's a good day for Jamaica. It's a good day for the region. But more than that, it's an excellent day for agriculture, because it shows not what the future of agriculture looks like, what agriculture looks like now. And if the CB Group can make the single biggest investment ever in agriculture, I can't wait until next year when the Prime Minister and I return for what will then be the single biggest investment in agriculture. God bless you, everybody.
Oh, the speeches just get better and better. What a build-up. Two takeaways. Agriculture is about people. And I think the moment we leave here, we have to continue to say this to our children and the different spaces that we are in. And the point that you made about food security, absolutely. When we closed down for the 2 years, especially in 2020, and I was probably one of the few persons who had a steady job because I was now hosting all of the regional discussions remotely. The number one fear across the entire region in all of those conferences was food security. And everyone was trying to figure out how can the region, how can our little islands survive and thrive if we rely a lot on importation or if we're not investing enough in our country. And so it feels so good to sit here and hear that Jamaica is well on her way, where food security is absolutely here and our self-sufficiency is here. Thank you so very much for that. So our keynote speaker, who was put on the spot earlier by Matthew Lynn, has had a legacy and continues to lay down a legacy that is built on Jamaica having a trajectory of resilience and transformation and building, growth, job creation, which also falls under his portfolio. But he has also positioned Jamaica as a regional and a global leader in climate action, because even as we speak about the nest and the chilling plant, the air chill plant, we're also speaking about, in fact, in the impact on the environment. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to welcome our keynote speaker for this morning, Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica, overseeing the Economic Growth and Job Creation Ministry.
Thank you, Terry, for your wonderful mastery of the ceremony and for your very kind introduction. I will depart from protocol and I will acknowledge Uncle Carl and Auntie Nell first. I can only estimate the immense pride you must feel in seeing not just this accomplishment that is here, but to hear your grandson deliver such a wonderful presentation. You counseled me once on a special visit you paid me, when you gave me the benefit of your experiences, including your travel to Singapore, when you attempted to set up a factory in Singapore, and the ministry in charge of that area of government sent a representative to you with a document, which was really a form that you had to fill out. And when you looked at that form, it was the same form that Jamaica had. And when you questioned the agent that was supporting you, he explained that Singapore came to Jamaica and saw what we were doing, and they took that same form. And the only sad thing is that they have managed to do it better than us for the last 40 or 50 years. And that story had an impact on me because the difference between Jamaica and Singapore are many. But the main difference is that they believe in their economic independence. And they believe in it in such a strong way that it pervades everything they do. It is now part of their culture. And your grandson, and I will now refer to you in your own right, Matthew, you have done such a great job in not only explaining the economics behind this form, this lovely facility, but the call that this now must become a part of our culture. And you teased it out. We see, and I'm quoting you now, farming as the what left. That farming is not just about small backyard farming. That we also need large enterprises to come into agriculture and transform agriculture. And you spoke about opening up this facility to the school children so that they can see what the future is. Very important. Where is Father Ramkis? Thank you for your words of prayer. And I'm certain that this facility will be protected and guarded by the Lord's mighty hand. You didn't ask or mention it, but the gully that runs behind your place in my constituency, that is going to be repaired. I was there hoping that he wouldn't mention it. But it is in the contracting process now. So You will be all right. My colleague ministers who are here, yes, Minister Green, mishaps do happen. And I have participated in so many groundbreakings. Yesterday I went into my storeroom and I took someone in there with me and they looked to a side of it and they said, Prime Minister, how you have so much shovel? And they went to proceed to count. Now, my security team knows that at all the groundbreakings, I take the shovels and the hats. So they actually did see a hat and a shovel there for CB. Because I was here when it was being the ground was being broken in 2017. And at all the great and magnificent infrastructure developments that I have broken ground for. Yes, Minister Green, I too whisper a word of prayer that I will be there to see them open. So yes, I have the evidence of the groundbreaking, which by the way, you know, it's over 150 so far. It's quite a bit. So we have done quite a bit. We have done quite a bit. I see His Worship the Mayor is on my list of protocol acknowledgements. If you are here, Mayor, I'm acknowledging you. All the representatives of the private sector who are here, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Happy New Year. My wish for you, health, peace, yes, it's health, peace, happiness, more wealth for those of you who have, and wealth for those of you who don't. That's part of the prosperity wish. Productivity is my wish too for Jamaica. And of course, victory for Jamaica. Now, when such great speeches have been delivered, you know, I have to make sure that my speech is great as well. So I may have to abandon my prepared text. So here are a few key points I would like to mention to you. And they are not in any particular order, but at the conclusion, I will attempt to draw some lines and connect them. So if you spare me a few minutes, I will attempt to do better than my minister and Matthew. By the way, they did excellently. Now, Matthew in his presentation pointed out the road condition in this area. And as he was speaking, and he politely requested of me to fix the road, I leaned over to Minister Green and I asked him, what's the name of the road? And he said, it doesn't really have a name, it's just called a Hill Run Road. And then I reflected, I was in my constituency in Christmas, and I was conducting a Christmas treat. And I met some persons there who pointed out to me that they used to live in my constituency, but they moved to live in this area. And they are doing agricultural business, and they were very proud of what they were doing. But they said, only one thing we ask of you, Prime Minister, fix the road. So when you said it, immediately it struck me. And I further leaned over to the minister and I asked him, is it a parish council road or an NWA road? Because it's not classified as an agricultural road. I suspect, and that's the reason why I asked if the mayor was here, I suspect that it is a parish council road. So here's what I'm going to say to you now, Matthew, and to everyone listening. The road deserves to be fixed. The road should be fixed. That's number one. The government will fix the road. But I can see the articles already being written. Prime Minister makes policy on the fly. And everyone who wants a road to be fixed, just go and confront the Prime Minister. So this is why I started the way I started. By all measures, the road deserves to be fixed. The road will be fixed by the government. And so my third statement is that there is a program in place to fix the road. When will the road be fixed? And I'm going to say this now. The road will be fixed before the year is out. Yes, I have to say it that way. I have to say it that way. Because, and since I have this audience here, allow me to tease out some other things. Government must maintain fiscal responsibility. You tease out some other issues which I'm going to bring out, because it's not often that I have this gathering that I can explain some of the more complicated political issues. Everyone wants their road to be fixed. We can't fix every road at the same time. And governments have to be careful that they don't overcommit beyond what we have programmed for our budget. So my commitment, which is it will be fixed before the year is out, is that there is a budget coming. And within the new budget, not within the budget that is gone, because the Minister of Finance is sitting there. And I have given her strict instructions that we must maintain fiscal discipline. So in as much as the road is a political sensitivity, I couldn't just stand up here and say, all right, we'll fix the road now. Totally ignoring the fiscal responsibility, rules and laws that exist. So in the new budget, we will make sure that that road is provisioned. And to be clear, that road is not going to be provisioned because Matthew Lynn asked the Prime Minister in front of this large audience, or constituents of the Prime Minister asked him when they encountered him. The road is going to be fixed on the basis that, number one, the road to development starts with a road. This road is integrally important to the development of this area as an agricultural hub. So all who was planning to write articles, don't bother. Which leads me to another point. I'm very happy to hear that the objective of the CB Group is to become a net exporter of chicken meat and other agricultural products. I'm very happy to hear that that is also your wish for the industry. It coincides with the ambition, indeed mission, of the government, which is to make Jamaica a net agricultural exporter in areas where we have a competitive advantage. The minister mentioned that I've given a directive regarding Jamaica's food security. It's not Jamaica's food security. That's one item on the list. The issue for us as a small economy is to create an agricultural sector that is robust, that can withstand shocks, supply chain breaks, and that can produce enough to reduce the cost of living. The cost of living is probably the most pressing matter right now for every Jamaican. It is not well articulated, but it is a kind of pressure that people feel that is very frustrating. You go to the supermarket last week, the price is X. The next time that you go, the price is X plus 10, which means you have to buy X minus 10 value of goods. It frustrates people terribly. It gives people a negative outlook on their future. It forces and creates serious pressure on wages. When people go to negotiate their wages, they are looking at the cost of living, and the cost of living, obviously, for most, is measured in terms of inflation. And so wages have to increase, and it creates a very dangerous cycle, which it has not yet seeped into the consciousness of every single Jamaican, that when you get caught into this cycle of increases in price, increases in wages, there's a sense that, I have caught up. My wages have increased. But within 2 or 3 months, you go back to the supermarket and then you start to see prices move again. In other words, you get caught in a vicious cycle of the cost of living going up, and then the great tension that is created with trying to get wages to go up. How do we solve this? And what is the role of government in solving this challenge? By the way, it's not just now. This has been the definition of Jamaica for the last 50 years. So the way in which you solve this is to increase productivity. So there is a belief that the way to treat with inflation is to increase wages to catch up. No, that is just going to be a cycle, right? So yes, we have to increase the wages, yes, but that is not the solution. The solution to inflation is to increase productivity. We are shy in that regard in speaking about productivity, because whenever the question of productivity is raised, somehow it is in an accusatory way. Someone is not working hard enough, or someone is lazy. So we need to move away from that thinking and start to embrace the notion that we as Jamaicans can increase our productivity and our output. It is within us to do it. Everyone who leaves Jamaica and goes abroad, they are the most productive people you can find. No, I'm not here saying that you must go work hard. Working hard is a part of productivity, but it is not productivity itself. What I am saying is we need to work smarter. And so the cause of lack of productivity is not just the worker themselves, it is also how management structures the environment to create the worker to be more efficient. It is how, as Matthew said, how the policymakers create the environment in which the people who own capital and management can create industries that empower their workers to be more productive. I hope I'm not shocking the audience. No. So when we talk about productivity, please, I'm not blaming anyone. Productivity now has to be the next chapter of our development. We have solved the fiscal issues. We have made massive increases in wages. We don't want those increases in wages to be wiped out without having a consummate increase in productivity, which is going to protect the value of the wage increases that have been given, either through the public sector or with the increases in the minimum wage. Productivity. Now, let's look at how productivity counters inflation. A few months ago, I had the great and distinct honor of touring. Matthew, am I allowed to call your competitor's name in this forum? You did, and you are releasing me to do so. I had the distinct pleasure of touring the facility. I can't say it's a similar facility, but touring the facility at Jamaica Broilers. That's in Old Harbor. And a part of the tour included a tour of the road. By the way, the road is in a similar condition to this, if not worse. But I want you to follow, as I said, I'm giving you some key points. At the end of it, I'll try to tie everything together. There was a bridge there. The bridge collapsed. Water came and essentially washed it away. It was a weather event that caused the bridge to collapse. So what it meant is that the people who worked at that factory had to stop at a distance and had to be either carried around a long route to the factory, or they had to walk across with some provisional pathways to get there. Now, you can immediately see that if Jamaica Broilers, in moving the product from their plant, they don't have the benefit of that bridge, and they have to drive an additional 3 or 4 miles to get out of their factory, you can see the impact of cost on the cost of production and eventually on the price to the consumer. So, infrastructure has an impact on cost of living. So we have agreed to fix the bridge. The bridge is in the contracting process. It went through procurement. It's in the contracting process. And I must commend Jamaica Broilers again, please, with your permission, because they have contributed, I believe it is almost 50% or just under 50% of the cost of the bridge, $50 million to the cost of the bridge. And so it just also struck me that what we probably should say to We'll talk. But back to the point. Because you raised another point, Matthew. And I hope you're following along. Because you said it took you 2 years of planning and permitting and approvals to get to this point. So you broke ground in 2017 and you couldn't start until 2019. By the time you start in 2019, COVID. When I visited the bridge, and you were so gracious in touring with me, Mr. Levy, that bridge was already a year or two being discussed for it to be repaired and so forth. So when I announced late last year that Jamaica has to pivot, Bureaucracy is killing us. There is a culture that if it didn't take long, it wasn't well done. But I am not here complaining because the power to change it rests with the government. But this is not a dictatorship. So there are laws that are in place, and people can always hide behind the laws and say, well, it is the law. So there are laws that we will be changing. And there are people vested in keeping the law as it is, because there may be some, let me not go there, but people are vested in keeping the system as it is. I am not vested in keeping a slow bureaucratic system. I am vested in creating an efficient government bureaucracy that delivers on time. Because a large part of the cost of living, put another way, a large part of the cost of the goods you consume is the length of time and the cost it to business to get approvals and permitting to get to market. That is a part of cost of living. That cost of doing business becomes a part of the cost of the product you purchase. So when the government says it has a plan to reduce cost of living, it is not a wishful plan or some ephemeral idea. No. Government is vested in dealing with the practical things that make Jamaica so expensive. To reduce those. The public bureaucracy. It is not going to be easy to change the public bureaucracy as it is. But we are going to go about it in a skillful way to ensure there are no disruptions. But it shouldn't have taken you 2 years to get to this. There's another part of the cost of living which has recently come up for public discourse, and that is taxes. That is the government's portion of the cost of the goods you consume. I get a sense that Jamaicans have started to take for granted that the government's portion of the cost of goods that you are consuming has not increased for the last 9 years. In fact, it has decreased. So people tend to forget what Jamaica was like 9, 10, 12, 15 years ago, when every budget to come, there was great trepidation that taxes would increase. To the point where politicians can now stand on platform and say, maybe we should put on another tax. I just want to alert those persons whose concept of the challenges and the struggles that they face is that there are easy solutions to the problems. This morning I was listening to a radio host, and the host was saying, well, the government is saying how great they have done. It was also in my presentation, so let me look at some of the great things we have done. She was saying, the government is saying, oh, we have this large reserves at the Bank of Jamaica, the largest ever reserves. Why we don't spend it on fixing the roads? I'm sure it's the thinking of many people inside here. But Jamaica also is the only country in this region that has a freely floating exchange rate. That any of you here who do business or want to pay for something abroad can go to a bank and buy the US dollars and don't have to worry. There are other countries in the region where you can't do that. Somehow we have forgotten what it was like when we didn't have foreign exchange stability. 10, 11, 12 years ago. I just want to remind you how we got here. And if you take that away, you create another problem, which means you can't fix no road. I hope I'm not scaring you. I just have to point out to you these things. You know, Jamaica has grown for over 19 quarters. We have had an impact. And I see people running out. See the economy in trouble. No growth. Let me be clear. As a small open economy, Jamaica is always at risk of being hit by exogenous shocks, things over which we have no control. Matthew pointed out that having laid the best plan, ready to go, COVID came. And by the way, that's the same thing that happened to the government. So we are having a conversation without any regard for the fact that the spike in inflation and cost of living, much of that, in fact 90% of that, is as a result of the impact of COVID. But we were resilient. We were able to go through COVID. Pay attention to that word, resilient. We were able to go through COVID and not one public sector worker was laid off or furloughed. Not one. Not one public sector worker pay was cut. Check the rest of the region. So, okay, let's do away with the reserves and see how resilient you become. Let's do away with fiscal responsibility. Just fix every road that people come up to you and ask you to fix and see what happens. I hope you're seeing the connections. So, we have done many great things, but they're all done to create resilience. So yes, there will be times when quarters where you will not have growth, or maybe even a year where you don't have growth. And that's largely because of, these exogenous shocks. COVID was an exogenous shock. The supply chain problems that it created was an exogenous shock. We spent some money to ensure that we had a care program during COVID, but we tried to manage it in such a way that what we spend did not create too much inflation. Other countries spent quite a bit and created a kind of global inflation, which forced central banks to focus heavily on interest rates. And as a small open economy, sometimes we don't have no choice in these matters as it relates to following and ensuring that we don't create any gaps for arbitrage in capital by virtue of any significant differential in interest rates between our interest rates and overseas interest rates. And that had an impact on business right throughout the country. There was not a week that a businessman didn't call me complaining about the high interest rates. managing the economy, managing this country is not easy. You have to have an incredible understanding of all the factors and balance them. There are no simple solutions. Thankfully now, we are in a good zone where the interest rates are coming down. And as that was happening, bam, here comes Beryl. But when we talk about it, you're only going to hear about Beryl. Please, Beryl is the least of the problem. Because from Beryl to last week, we have had rains almost every week. We had 2 tropical storms that damaged our road infrastructure. Major impact on our agriculture. We had to spend an additional $2 billion, which was not planned, in order to bring some relief to the roads. But why is it that we were able to find this $2 billion? And why is it that we are optimistic that we will recover? Because we have built a resilient economy. Resilient. And part of that resilience is that within the budget, we actually plan for disasters. For the first time, Jamaica has a disaster fund that for Beryl, we didn't have to borrow. We didn't have to depend on grants. We were able to draw down $5 billion to issue out to 14,000 Jamaicans benefits to start their recovery. You hear of any borrowing to do that? You hear of any massive aid coming into the country? Isn't that the definition of your economic independence, being able to stand on your own 2 feet and face the uncertainties of the world with confidence? Isn't that economic independence? We have worked very hard, all of you here, to achieve it. We must not destroy it. So Matthew, your presentation is fit to be delivered as a lecturer at the University of the West Indies. And in that presentation, your request was for improvement in the policy environment and improvement in the infrastructure that will reduce the cost of doing business to you as you plan to increase your productivity. And as you increase productivity, you increase output. And as you increase output, you reduce the unit price of each additional good that you produce. And that is how you make consumption affordable. That's how you reduce the cost of living. So you know it, Matthew. And you have asked for the right things, and that is what the government must support you on. You did not ask for an additional tax on imported goods. You didn't ask for that. There is no clarification necessary or can be given. It is a stupid idea. Not just that, it is a dangerous idea. Jamaica has international treaties and obligations that we can't just willy-nilly ignore them. Now I'm going to tread upon some dangerous waters here. The 2 major players in this industry are here. You know, I did some studies recently because I felt that during COVID, you couldn't go into office, you couldn't go anywhere. Others were out campaigning and doing stuff during COVID. I had to follow the protocols. So I had a little time to read, and I do have some knowledge on, after 27 years in government, you accumulate some knowledge as to how government works. And I thought I'd put it to good use and test it. And there are different theories as to how government should make policy. The one that is most oftentimes spoken about is the competitive approach to policy, right? You want to have all agents in the market compete, so it's a free market, so you're dealing with transparency, leveling up the playing field. And by the way, in that model, taxation is viewed as a distortion. And sometimes it can create perverse preferences. So you really try to avoid taxation in that model. But there's another model which is very important, because in a country like Jamaica, where there is a high level of unequalness, the role of government is about ensuring equity. We can't ensure equality, but we can ensure equity. And so whenever you speak about taxes, in terms of a policy point of view, you want to make sure that it does not negatively disturb equity in your society. So there is a view that if you put taxes on certain imports, and then you use that tax to create a fund to help with the efficiency of the industry, that is one way to treat with, increasing output or so forth. Now, that could work if the consumers are not Jamaicans. But I want you to think of it carefully. Any tax that you put on, it is going to take away welfare from someone and possibly redistribute it to someone else. Follow me a little bit more. If you place taxes on imported foods, the prices are not going to go down. The prices are likely to rise. Not because the cost of production has risen, but because you have set a new bar artificially. And it means that every consumer pays more. And even if you were to take that surplus in tax and say, all right, I'm going to invest it, then you're faced with this question now, who are you going to give this benefit? Should we give this benefit to the poultry industry versus the goat industry? And will it be enough so that every industry benefits? It's a complicated idea that doesn't work. And I go into that because you have to be careful who you let make your policy. We have been this road before. We have been there before. Don't run any risk in going back that road again. My job is to just point out to all of the Jamaicans, everyone who believes that, it's a simple matter. The better view, because there is a sense, the price of chicken is high because the import duties are high. And we must remove the import duties so that we can allow foreign chicken to come in, which is cheaper. The other side of the equity argument is what happens to the 150,000 farmers whose production would be impacted. You see how delicate a balance it is? In this situation, though, the producers of chicken meat should acknowledge that the high duties, especially in time of crisis, should not be used for their protection only, but that they should moderate the increases in prices. And that speaks to a kind of cooperative policy, where the government comes to the producers and say, listen, man, we are in a crisis now. Here are the duties, they are there. People are suffering. Manage carefully the prices. And I have seen that during the crisis, that the producers have, at least on one or two occasions, delayed increases that they had planned to do, or the increases that they had planned, they moderated them. And that's the cooperative approach to making policy. It doesn't always work. You have to take both the competitive and the cooperative approach. So I am treading on some waters here to make the point that the producers also have a duty, a moral one at that, to ensure that the entire country, not just their special interests, but the entire country, can survive in a time of crisis. I'm being very careful, but very direct in my language. We must moderate prices, and not just for the producers in the poultry industry, but for those people who are in the supermarket business, who supply goods and services. We must be fair with our prices. During the hurricane, we had to invoke certain regulatory powers to ensure that there was not price gouging. But I believe I should restate our position, that we are willing to work with the producers to see what we can do from our end to reduce some of the unnecessary burdens and costs that you face, but you must pass that on to the consumers. I believe I've said a lot, maybe too much. But let me end by congratulating the CB Group for making this investment in Jamaica, a significant investment. There is a sense sometimes that we should not praise our entrepreneurs because, after all, they do it for their personal benefit. There is no country that can grow without the innovation and expertise and commitment of our entrepreneurs. I want to commend the Hendrickson family and all the other investors and business people who are here, and big and small, everyone who is saying, I am going to put $1 in production and sacrifice consumption or rent-seeking behavior. I'm going to create new value. Whether you are a hairdresser creating your hairdresser shop, a mechanic creating your mechanic shop, or CB chicken building this lovely facility. Once you make that decision to invest, we are proud of you. We want to encourage you, and we want to thank you, because that is how Jamaica will grow. I'm happy to hear that you are going to make further investments in the country. And as I close, the reason for that confidence in Jamaica is that you know that the government in place will never do anything to destroy the economic environment that creates the confidence to invest. And I want to, from this platform, repeat to all of you who are here who are planning to invest in the future, you can have confidence that this government will make the best decisions for the people of Jamaica, for the consumers of Jamaica, and for those whose duty and job it is to create investments in Jamaica. God bless you all, and God bless Jamaica, land we love.
Let's hear it again for our keynote speaker, the Prime Minister of Jamaica, Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, reminding us that, yes, there will be external forces that makes Jamaica quite vulnerable, but the huge goal that we should keep in mind is creating a resilient economy, working smarter, redefining what productivity looks like, creating and protecting the value, all of the players who are a part of the value chain. How is equity distributed, and is that a part of the strategy and plan? And finally, my biggest takeaway, or one of the takeaways, is that we cannot do all of this growth and job creation without the work of our entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship. So I thank you so very much. Naturally, the PM could have dropped the mic right after he said, your road deserves to be fixed. The government will fix, and it will be fixed by? That was a mic drop before the year's done. That was already a mic drop. So we have heard the stats, the facts. We've heard about the economic growth, the impact, schools. We've heard about the generational greatness, community greatness, industry greatness, educational, cultural, agricultural, infrastructural greatness. So we've spoken about all of it. We've seen it in the videos, but now I think it's time for us to actually see it. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great honor that I present to you the air-chilled processing plant opening right here at the Nest. You can do much better than that, ladies and gentlemen. At this time, we'd like to invite the Prime Minister. We'd like to invite Minister Floyd Green, the CB Group Chair, Lorianne Lynn, and CEO Matthew Lynn to kindly do the honors of the ribbon cutting. We want to remind everyone that this is a fully functional production line that is taking place. This is a wet plant. We have to adhere to all protocols and all procedures as it refers to biosecurity. As soon as we have our ribbon cutting ceremony, we are going to invite groups, small groups, to actually have a chance to tour the plant. You will have a chance to put on your PPE gears and go inside. And then we also have our viewing gallery all the way at the top where we have food and beverage. We have Murray's, I think Cafe Blue. We have a lot of goodies at the top. And so we ask that you bear with us. As soon as the ribbon cutting takes place, the Prime Minister and a very small group will get to tour the plant. We ask that media, in your media kit, you will see a QR code that will allow you to see all the images and all the other collateral that will be uploaded from the plant. The plant can't carry everyone in it at the same time. And while that plant tour is taking place, we invite you to head on upstairs to the viewing gallery where you get a good view of the production line, and you can also refresh yourself. We have food and we have beverage. I wish we could actually see the ribbon cutters, but as you can see, media is trying to get the best angle and the best shots. Oh, they're seeing it on the screen? Fantastic. And we're cut. We officially open the air-chilled processing plant to you. We're going to invite the